Hello there, people.
What's up, Chef?
Rent, taxes,
That sucks.
blood pressure.
Yeah, that's me too.
If we cut down on the salt and
I
go,
take potassium over the counter.
oh yeah.
Yeah, supposedly it helps out.
Well, so does going out to the back 40 and plunking off one or two.
Very true.
Well, from time to time. So Lynn, I saw your week 2 lab stuff here just a little while ago.
Oh yeah,
They already graded those, so
thank you.
might want to jump in and see some of my comments.
Okay.
No, it really gets. I like the black slate.
Thank you. I love that plate.
I have a couple of those to use as cheese boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works really nice for that.
The one with me lighting the fire, that was scary.
Yeah. Don't be scared.
Yeah,
Although,
I've never lit a fire like that before.
It's a little bit scarier in your house because
Yes.
you're more confined than you are in a big commercial kitchen. And I do it all the time. And, my wife stands way back. Where all my hair is gone.
Yeah.
A number of times I have flambéed at home and anywhere. I've got 6 o'clock, so I don't know what
All
time
right.
you have where you are. I've got 6, so let's get started. As I said last week, starting today, the biggest thing I want to do in these Zoom sessions is look at a little bit of last week. I've got a couple of 3, I think. I picked 3 pictures from your submissions. These will remain unnamed. So we're not going to identify who's who. And here's what I want to, let's see how this goes. I'm going to show one, and I want to hear you all kind of talk to each other about what you like, what's good about the plate, and what you would suggest to do different with the plate if you were the sous chef, if you were the one in charge of the kitchen. Does that make sense? I get an amen or a thumbs up or whatever. So give me a second to share my screen and pull this little PowerPoint up. And all right, so you already looked ahead probably, but everybody can see week 2. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet for a minute until there's no more talking. So unmute. Everybody can just unmute, and we're gonna give this a try. Since we're a small class, unmute and talk over each other. Jump in and be aggressive about if this is not your plate. If this is your plate, that's fine. If this is not your plate, remember that the next picture might be your plate. And so here's one of my objectives in doing this. In old school kitchens, that I grew up in, if you will, you can be brutally honest, and you can I think we can learn to be compassionate in our criticism. Does that make sense? I hope it does. No matter what, there will always be from someone a suggestion of, well, did you think about X? Did you think about Y? you know, one of the reasons I like to compete is to get feedback from evaluators, feedback from the judges that are looking very critically at the plates and the dishes and the presentations that I make. When I do a plate presentation, I roll with what I see, with what's in my mind, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so I would encourage, we didn't talk about this, but going forward, we could take a minute even if you want to go get a little note card or a pad or paper or something. I would encourage you, or right after we're done, jot down a couple of notes that you remember of what we've talked about for everybody's plates. And by the end of the term, we're going to be, I believe, doing some really, really incredible plate presentations. So that's all I have to say about this for now. I'll wrap up all the comments in a minute. And also keep in mind, this is being recorded. So keep your comments appropriate and clean and all of that kind of thing. So what do you think about, what do y'all think about this plate? The presentation on the plate.
The sauce needed to be strained.
I think they did a good job on cutting the carrots.
Carrots are
Yeah.
beautiful.
I think it needs to be more presentable because you said like a restaurant style, like we present it like a restaurant, like we going to a restaurant or something like that. You said
Ashley, what do you mean by that?
like maybe more sauce. The pasta kind of look a little bit maybe overcooked. I think on the side, I can't really point it out on my screen, I guess.
One of the challenges with looking at a photograph is it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell degree of doneness. And so we
The plate needs to be wiped clean, but as if it was like a family style restaurant, that would be a nice presentation, I think.
okay. Anybody else? Jacqueline, you want to you want to weigh in? No, you don't have to.
I don't, from what I'm looking at, from the standpoints of it, if you're doing it from, like you said, the restaurants, the presentation with the carrots that needs to be cleaned up some. I would prefer not for my food to touch, but it's just mentally. Other than that, I mean, I have nothing to say.
Okay. That's an interesting comment. I'm going to say I'm sorry in advance, Jacqueline, because we do want to get to all of our touching. Some of the time, most of the time, we're going to want our food to touch. I'm going to say one word about this plate: cafeteria. I think April. I think it was April that said, family dining, a family style restaurant. Yeah, this probably be very appropriate. A cafeteria type dining where you have a portion and you have a portion and you have a portion, and maybe they touch, maybe they don't. It's a colorful plate. The addition of the parsley with pasta, I think, sets off the whole plate. It's a colorful plate without it being, it's a colorful plate. The blue and the red, of the plate itself. But center of this plate made the plate very, very colorful. Let's move on to the, anybody else have anything else to say about this? Okay, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's hard to tell if there's something on top of the chicken or if it's just chicken.
I think it's that pan sauce.
That's the
I think
sauce.
It's too thick.
Yeah, it's definitely too thick.
It's very similar to the last one, except for the thickness.
The carrots are all different sizes and not the oblique.
Well, it's the oblique.
It's hard to tell.
It's a little inconsistent. So now y'all see what, and you will see more of this. Now we're going to experience what I used to harp on all last semester. All of y'all had me for food one except Jacqueline, and y'all heard me harp over and over and over consistency, consistency, consistency. Now we're going to see in these plate presentations where the consistency of the cut, if your cuts are inconsistent, that's going to stand out. It's going to stand out a little bit. The addition of the parsley, again, adds a certain color dynamic to the plate, which is appetizing, appealing. Just like the last plate, it's I call it cafeteria style plating. And I don't mean that in a negative way. That's not a bad thing. It has an appropriate place, an appropriate time to plate this way. From a production standpoint, the sauce is either, I think it's both. We're just looking at this visually. The sauce is either too thick or it's curdled. And it looks to me like it's a little bit of both. And so let me talk about the curdling of a cream sauce and how that happens. If you're going down the road of making a sauce and you've added some heavy cream, and like we've done several times, and you want more sauce, you want to stretch the sauce, or you want to try to thin the sauce, depending on all of the ingredients in the sauce, if you add milk, the milk might curdle the sauce, and not curdle it like cottage cheese, but like this ultra fine cottage cheese. And so doesn't look very appetizing, but it's still going to taste just fine. We eat with our eyes first. That's why we're going to spend really more time in this Zoom session each week talking about presentation and improving eating with our eyes. I think we've got one more. Okay, people, what say ye?
That looks nice. It doesn't look, as you say, cafeteria style. It's layered, but it's like the chicken and the sauce belongs on the pasta. It looks nice. I like the the carrot cuts.
Good.
I think it look good too. It look nice.
What makes it look good, Ashley?
It's well put together, and the carrots around it. I don't see any parsley on the carrots, but it still looks pretty good.
Where does your eye kind of naturally go when you look at this plate?
Mine goes straight to the chicken on top of the pasta.
It wants to the chicken.
Mine goes to the bone.
Nice crispy chicken.
Mine always goes to the bone, so sticking out of the airline breast. It like
Yep.
draws the eye. It's a higher up thing. It just, so it's still the chicken, but it's the bone that catches my eye.
Let me point out a couple of things. Is everybody else finished? I'll imagine so. Can you see my cursor? I'm kind of going round and round. Do you see my cursor on top of the picture?
Yes.
Okay. So because of where they're placed, we can, I'm making the assumption that this was a dot and this is a dot and this is a dot, and you can't see it in the picture very well, but there's a dot. Okay. The only time you want to have dots like this, I think I have a picture that I'm going to show you in a little bit of a completely different plate, not one of our labs from last week. I'm going to show you pictures that have some dots. They need to be very uniform and maybe a little more deliberately placed. We want to think of wiping plates as we go. I think we mentioned that on the very first plate. Look at little extra dots or little drops, little finger, maybe dirty finger handling the plate just a little bit. We want to be mindful of wiping all of those things. Now, talking about the dots on this particular plate, y'all listen to Chef. Chef is wise. Chef is wise. Listen. The border of the plate, every plate, the border of the plate is no man's land. Don't put herbs, don't put sprinkles of things. We don't want to flop stuff over the border of the plate. So, we have the edge, this rim area, the edge of the plate, and then the break where the edge and the flat portion of a plate. We have round plates that do the same thing. Let's see if we can go backwards. This is a very, very small one. So it just has this rim. This plate has, kind of a little larger dip into this rim right here. Can you tell where the curve of the plate as it comes in and then it flattens out?
Yeah.
You don't want to plate anything beyond this. Okay. So we don't want to plate beyond right about where my cursor is tracing. We don't want to plate beyond that. Okay. I would call this plate very full. You're going to hear this a lot this semester. Last semester, you heard consistency, consistency, consistency. This semester, you're going to hear white space, negative space, white space. It is okay. It is less is best. This is going to be a hard lesson for us to learn, especially if we all come from the South. This is a hard lesson to learn because we've grown up in the South. Most of us probably growed up poor. And if we got plenty of food, we're going to put as much food on the plate as possible. If it's high-end Gruyere cheese or if it's government cheese, it doesn't matter. We're going to put as much of it on the plate as we can. We want a big old chicken fried steak that fills up, a Texas cat head biscuit that fills up the whole daggum plate. And then we're going to cover that with gravy and clean up the floor as the gravy spills out, drops all on the floor while we go to the dinner table. I call that Denny's plating, Cracker Barrel plating. And we are learning, or we will be learning, very, very high-end gourmet plating. And we want to be symmetrical sometimes. We want to be asymmetrical sometimes. Sometimes we'll have little piles that just a minute ago I called cafeteria style plating. Sometimes we'll layer, and we may have the entire plate, sauce, vegetable, starch, protein, all in the center or off to the side. We want to think of height. We want to think of color. Negative space, again, these things draw your eye. And you, by the end of the semester, I want you to be able to control, be intentional about where your guests, your customers, where any of us that will see your plates, where our eyes are automatically drawn. Does that make sense?
Yes, chef.
Question, comment?
No, chef.
Let's look ahead just a little bit. This is old school plating. And some of us have been influenced by this. And in some settings, this is still discussed today. You know, you've got the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock on the plate. And, you know, where you're going to put your stuff at between 10 and 11. You're going to put maybe your protein around 2 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock. You're going to put your little bit of vegetable right down at 6 o'clock. We're not going to get into healthy foods and nutrition, things that you will study in healthy foods and nutrition. I'm not going to beat us all up about my plate, but I am going to comment each week if the plates that you prepare are real heavy starch, which is our tendency in the South, real heavy starch compared to protein and veg. So if we go backwards, just this last plate we looked at, that's a little bit of vegetable compared to about 5 or 6 times the starch. Can you see that? The amount of pasta versus the carrots that are on the plate. We've got about 4 or 5 maybe. We've got about 5 times the amount of pasta as there is carrots. Couple other plates, you know, 2 pieces of chicken. Why do we need to have 2 pieces of chicken? Because it's there? Because I'm gonna eat more chicken? Here again, 2 pieces of chicken. Now these may be smaller. If we're gonna follow the My Plate stuff and what Miss Mandy Smith, our resident registered dietitian who teaches healthy foods and nutrition, wants us to follow and practice, 3 to 4 ounces of protein on the plate. That's all. If we're just using chicken breasts, some of the chicken breasts off the chickens that you cut are in the 6 ounce. And if you happen to go to the Walmarts and you buy those chickens and break those down, you're looking at 8 to 10 ounce chicken breasts. You got 2 servings. So keep that in mind. The portion size, less is best. Less is best. This is a drawing. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But notice even in this drawing how everything is within the rim of the plate. And this is a layered approach. There's a beurre blanc sauce. The roasty is actually a bread. It's an Italian kind of bread. The broccoli florets all around, carrots. Maybe the carrots are entirely underneath the roasty, or at least all around. A little piece of cod, an herb salad on top of that. I'm assuming this is probably a cold plate. This is the kind of plate. Oops,
That's what I was wondering.
look, it's yummy right there.
Yeah, it does.
This is the kind of plate that could go either way, cold or hot. I'll say it because it's on my mind. I'm opposed to this. So I want you to keep a little bit of context. I'm opposed to this, and I'll tell you why. But I want you to know that when you move on from here to Chef Rogers, assuming she's still going to be teaching Food 3 next semester, when you go to her, she likes this. So here's an example of, even in the culinary school, we each as instructors are going to have our own little spin on things. If this is a hot plate right here, if this is a freshly seared cod right off the pan going on the plate, I'm not a fan of microgreens, of this little herb salad to be presented on top of the cod. That is hot and cold on the same plate. Greens wilt under the hot. And if it's a dressed salad, the heat from the cod and the acid from the dressing will make those greens, they'll wilt even faster. That is me. That's my opinion. So keep that in mind when you're cooking for me. But when you go to Food 3 and you learn some other principles of plate presentation from Chef Rogers, what's the right answer? What's your answer when Chef Rogers says, "I want you to ...
Yes, chef.
That's right. Your answer is yes, chef. Your answer is not, "Hey, now wait a minute. Wait a minute there, Miss Chef, because Chef Hall taught us blah, 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 blah." No, you might fail the class if you go there. Here's another example. It's hard to see. I don't know if you can see coming through the screen. You can see
Oh, yeah.
the edge of the plate right up here.
Mhm.
See better the edge of the plate down here. Look at all of this white space. You've got this little piece of potato. You've got probably some turnip, maybe parsnip, maybe jicama. You've got some carrot in here. Again, something I don't like, these microgreens that are mixed in for color. It's a hot plate with fresh greens. Not a fan. Here's a filet and
Oh.
this demi-glace. If you haven't had stock soups and sauces yet, when you learn to make a demi-glace, it's labor intensive. It takes a long time to make a good demi-glace. It is really rich, and a little goes a long way. And so another thing that we have to break ourselves of from good old-fashioned Southern plating and Southern cooking, we don't smother everything with brown gravy or white gravy. Gloss is just not plain a little brown gravy. You can call it that if you want, and then the rest of us in the business will laugh at you. We'll laugh at you behind your back. We don't want to make you cry or anything like that, but What do you think about this plate? What do you see? What do you like, and what would you do different?
Like you
It's-
said, the microgreens, I don't like them on there. I mean, it looks pretty, but you're just gonna take them off anyway. Like maybe a flower, I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's pretty.
Yeah, I was gonna
Patty
say the same thing. I don't think I would do anything different. I would probably eat the whole plate, so.
Oh, I eat it. I may not like how it looks, but if the food's yummy, it's going. It's going down. Any idea? Any idea what this gray poo right here might be?
Pate, what is that stuff called?
Pate.
Pate.
That's really a good guess. It's not even close to it, but
Yeah, it looks disgusting though.
it's mushroom.
What is it?
Mushroom.
Really? Weird.
All right, so look this up. Email me a little paragraph about Duxelle, Duxelle. Email me this week a little paragraph about Duxelle, and I'll give you 5 bonus points.
ELE. Paragraph.
Duxell.
2 L's.
E. It's 2 L's. It may have an E at the end. It may not. And just to be sure, you might want to look up mushroom Duxelle. But Duxelle the sauce, which isn't really a sauce, this is going to be something important to know about. It's a key component to beef Wellington. And that's all I'm going to tell you about Duxelles. Let's drive on. Okay. If you've already looked, and I know at least one of you have, if you've already looked at this week's lab assignment, lab work, this week is the same as last week. You're submitting 3 artifacts. I want a picture of your mise en place, a close-up, a picture of your finished plate, and a picture of you presenting the plate in uniform. This, what I'm showing you right now, is a little look forward. Beginning next week, there are 2 additional components to your lab that will be added next week in week 3 and will be required for the rest of for every other lab forevermore. One of those is you're going to do some art. I want you to draw on a piece of paper. You don't have to go get an art pad. You can do it on just lined paper, typing paper, copy paper. I don't care what you use. If you use crayons or markers, if you try to do a little art using your computer and your computer mouse, that gets a little tough, but if you can do that, fine. Before you even cook anything, what you're going to start doing next week is drawing a picture of the plate that you are going to prepare. You'll see the vegetables that you have to work with. You'll see in the recipes what it is that we're doing. I hope y'all understand. I fielded a few questions this past week. Unless I tell you, and I will when the time comes, this class by and large is not about exactly following the recipe. I give you the recipes maybe to follow the directions, because that's where the explanation of the cooking method is. But you'll see when you look at the recipes, well, this is kind of the idea of what the plate is going to be. So this week, what are you doing? You're searing some beef tenderloin, which is filet à poivre. If you do the à poivre, you're making a cognac cream sauce. What else do we have? We've got some sauteed Brussels sprouts.
And the potatoes.
And the potatoes, pomme d'oches, Dutch's potatoes. Okay. If we were doing this next week, what I would want you to do is put down on paper a plate design. Where's the filet going to go? Are you going to serve it whole? Are you gonna cut it up? Where are the potatoes going to go? You might have to do a little bit of research first and look up what Dutch's potatoes, what that really is and what that means. Where are the Brussels sprouts going to go? How are you going to present the sauce? I want to see that you're thinking about the plate before you ever do the plate. When you have that concept in mind, then you do your mise en place, snap a picture of that. Then you prepare your plate, snap a picture of your plate, and then you in uniform. I'm not after you plating exactly what you drew, because if you're drawing this before you ever cook, you may have one thing in mind, but while you're cooking, this design may take a different shape. When you are finished cooking and you prepare your plate, maybe the design didn't work exactly the way you had conceived in your mind, and you've got to do something a little bit different. If we start doing this, this is going to help all of us start thinking about the artistry of plating, the art of culinary arts. What do y'all think of that? Are you
Makes sense.
say that again? Who is that?
It makes sense.
Okay. So it's not a whole lot of points in each lab each week, but it is some points. And so your drawn picture is basically you did it, you didn't do it. I'm not evaluating the art at all. This isn't art class. Basically, I mean, look at this. This is these are little fried salmon pieces, I think. I can't tell really well. No, the salmon is underneath all of these greens, but they drew just a line for the sauce, and the line. This plate, incidentally, this comes from a culinary student, and so you can do the same thing. You know, this line of sauce is not the straightest, cleanest line in the world. But look at this plate. Look at the white of the plate. The plate's not empty. One of the reasons why we need to be focusing on less is best on the plate is because in this class, you're only preparing one entree plate, but consider that plate in a 4 or 5 course meal. You don't want 12 ounces of filet and half a potato and a pound and a half of Brussels sprouts going on your plate. You want 3 or 5, that beautiful green Brussels sprout. You may want 2 or 3 of the Dutchess potatoes, so on and so forth. Less is best. And I wanted to show you this. I want to point out 2 things. I think this is the last picture here. You're making filet à poivre. Filet à poivre is one of my favorite dishes on the whole planet. Okay, the takeaway from this week is the Maillard reaction. That's a term you will define if you haven't done all your key terms yet. I describe a little bit, or I mentioned to you that we're doing the Maillard reaction as part of this lab. It is a very important principle for us to understand. We'll talk more specifically about it next week. I want you to do all of this first and get a little hands-on experiential learning. But I want you to see the doneness of this filet. Okay? Y'all listen. When I ask for medium rare, this is a perfect medium rare. Oh, what happened? I hit the wrong button. This is a perfect medium rare right here. Okay? Going to be times, in fact, it's going to be next week or the week after when you go pick up some ribeye steak. You'll be picking up ribeye or strip steak, and I'm going to ask specifically for medium rare. And you'll get a couple of points off if you give me rare, or if you give me well done or medium well. Okay, we'll learn about this as we go, but it doesn't matter what you like when you're asked to cook for a guest. When you're cooking for customers, you've got to prepare what they want, what they like. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is a good looking medium rare.
So, Chef, question.
Ask it.
Like, when we have to cook it medium rare, do we have to taste it medium rare as well? Like, are we supposed to?
So, hey, that's a really good that's a good question. That's a good observation, because the other thing you're going to start doing next week is you'll write. All I'm asking for is 2 paragraphs, 2 little paragraphs, but you're going to describe your taste. You're going to taste all the food on the plate. Now, I'm going to ask you to, yes, taste everything on the plate in that degree of doneness. And if you put it in your mouth and you don't like it and you spit it out, hey, that's fine. And then you can put it in the microwave and ate it to death till you have the well done, or put it back in the oven or whatever, and then dig in and eat away. I don't want you to throw anything away. But I guarantee, my wife is in another room right now, but she can come out here and attest to this. I guarantee I'm the pickiest eater in this whole group, and all of us that are on the Zoom session right now. I'm the pickiest eater at the culinary school. I promise you I am. But I've also trained myself to put everything on the planet in my mouth. And so I need to know as a chef if it's done right. Okay. I also have to know if it's seasoned right. And that means you've got to taste things that are at the degree of doneness that the customer wants, if for no other reason, to taste for seasoning. I hope that makes some sense. And so I want to push you a little bit. I want to test you a little bit. I want to ask you to maybe stretch yourself and do a little bit more than what you might be comfortable with. The only exception, and there's only, well, it's two, but there's only one real exception to this rule, and that is if you absolutely can't. If you absolutely cannot eat the XYZ. And in my mind, there are really only two okay, there's really only two I can't eat this. You have an allergy. Obviously, if you have an allergy to something, don't put it in your mouth. We're going to play with shrimp later. If you have a shrimp allergy, if you have such a shrimp allergy that you can't touch it or handle it, I'm still going to ask you to use gloves. And if you're not comfortable doing that, then you communicate with me and we'll work out some kind of alternative. Okay. If you have an allergy to something, if you are allergic to Brussels sprouts, then don't put the Brussels sprouts in your mouth this week. Okay. If there is a religious reason, I put that in the same context as an allergy. We're going to play with pork later on, and maybe you are of a religious preference that doesn't consume pork. That's fine. I do want you to make it. Then go give it to your neighbor. And there you go. Do those things make sense? I don't see it.
Yes,
Was Juanita, was that you
yes, it was.
asked that?
It was. But
I
it all makes sense.
be okay with that. I hope you'll be okay with, you may like well done. And yeah, obviously you're cooking filet this week. Next week or the week after, you're cooking ribeye or strip steaks. Definitely on the grill, definitely on the ribeye or the strip steaks. I know I asked for medium rare. I've had students already do this, and their essay, their taste perception, their taste experience, little writing, I was blown away. I've always eaten well done, or I've always eaten medium or medium well, and I changed my tune. That's actually not what I'm after. You have your preferences. We all have our preferences. But we need to train ourselves to be professional culinarians. We need to train ourselves to be able to work outside of our individual preferences and be able to effectively give our guests what they want. And that means sometimes we gotta bite into something to see if it's right, if it's seasoned right, all of that. Look at this sauce. You see, you've got sauce on the plate underneath the steak, the filet, but you clearly have sauce on top, kind of dripping over. Let me give you a rule that is not covered in our textbook, that I would like you to remember and begin applying even this week. If you haven't done this week's lab yet, begin applying this week. If you've already done this week's lab, start applying this next week. In classical cuisine, when the sauce and the protein are prepared separate, then the sauce is presented under the protein or some way around it. Like this. Here's a filet that's been seared. This is not filet à poivre, but it's seared filet. So the demi-glace is presented around it. The duxelles is presented to the side of it. Only here in the South, again, do we cover things with white gravy or brown gravy. Okay, so let's back up here again, just real quick for a second. Sauce presented on top of the chicken. Sauce presented on top of the chicken. Sauce presented on top of the chicken and around the chicken, but on the rim of the plate. Clear as mud? Can I get a yes? Can I get an amen? Can I get a thumbs up?
Yes, chef.
All right. I'm going to stop this and just return us to our regularly scheduled program. So maybe you got a few tips for this week's plating, next week's plating. Less is more. Negative space, white space on the plate is our first lesson to learn to intentionally draw our customers' eyes to what we want them to look at on the plate. Our guests will naturally look at the highest point on the plate, the most colorful point on the plate, or maybe the one place where everything is gathered. Okay?
Yes, chef.
Y'all have any questions about any?
No, chef.
Chef, I'm so sorry I am late. I will go back and watch the full thing. I'm single parenting tonight. And
You're fine.
so I hated that I just missed all that, but I'm going to go back and watch it because I want to learn it.
Yeah. And I want to encourage everyone. I don't know how well you know this because in this group, in fact, it's only Juanita who has done my online stuff before. So I'm gonna, we only have a few minutes and this is only gonna take a second. I'm gonna share my screen again and actually I can't show you what I want to show you because I'm an instructor, I'm not a student, so I don't see what you see. Listen to me. You want to take a minute and do this with just about every grade I give you. Okay, especially of the photographs or the videos that you'll be leaving for your labs. Okay, I give you comments. Positive comments and my criticisms, my constructive feedback to help you do a little better. I do those at the same time that I grade. You won't necessarily get a specific email, but well, I can show you this. Bear with me here. Where is it? All right, you're looking at Blackboard right now, right?
Yes.
I'm already in this class, but you see the same thing, okay? When you are in your Blackboard, if you didn't know this already, up at the top right-hand corner, when you're all the way at the top banner in Blackboard, you see your name, you're logged in as you, and you're going to see the number of notifications that you have. Okay. Now, y'all don't hate on me that I've got 500 notifications up here. I'm also working on fall classes as well. and I'm doing some stuff in Chef McAfee's meat and seafood class and Chef McAfee's product ID class from last semester for assessment reporting stuff and things like that. So because that's the case, everything that I'm doing, you know, Chef McAfee, for example, had 3 meat and seafood classes. If I change one thing, that's gonna be 3 notifications, blah, 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 blah. I get notifications for every single change that I make, everything that I grade, everything that students submit that need to be graded. They all show up here in a notification. You should see the same thing. Once I've graded something or any instructor has graded something, you should see that you have a notification. Well, if you click on the down arrow and you, I think it's this. It's taken a minute because there's so many. There's all of these. So someone has submitted week 3 key terms already. And I don't see who it is. You don't see who it is. And I can grade it. I can open it, or I can ignore you altogether. Okay. You will see the same thing. Maybe you see your week 2 key terms has already been graded. When you open it, that's when you will see the comments that I leave within the assignment. Does that make sense? I hope it does. You should, now I know we're having a little issue with this right now. I've reached out to our Blackboard tech people. You know, after you've taken a quiz, you should be able to click on either the grade or the title of the quiz, and it opens up the quiz that you took. You can see the questions and your answers. I know 1 or 2 of you have had an issue with that, and working on getting that corrected. Might be a Blackboard issue, and so there's a ticket open right now for us to work on. I hope the same thing doesn't exist here, because I really want you to get the feedback. I try to give it to you in a fairly timely way. As you have figured out already, it's not always going to be exactly the same day, the same moment that you have submitted, but it'll generally be within a day or 2. And I want you to be able to go back and see those comments, because that's your right in the moment. Okay, chef, I prepared this dish. What can I do different? I give you that in those comments.
Hey, Chef.
Yes.
So yes, all the feedback is there on my account.
Good.
But I'm wondering, did we have a photo of the recipe? Was there one available?
One available. What do you mean?
Of the chicken and carrots and that plating.
Did you have a photo with?
Did you provide a photo?
I did not provide a photo.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And I won't.
Okay.
I won't provide a photo at all, ever. And that's kind of my teaching philosophy, especially in this class. We're learning to present plate presentation. What I don't want you to do is copy me.
Okay.
One of the goals of the culinary school is to graduate you ready to be a department head of a medium-sized restaurant or hotel or resort, or be the sous chef of a smaller restaurant, a hotel or resort. If you're the sous chef, You have to be the decision maker. You've got to have the eye. You've got to be creative. You've got to give feedback. And so I don't want to pigeonhole you by getting you in the habit of, well, you copy me. And that's easy. I want you to do you. And Jennifer, when you go back and see, I think the comments from the rest of the Zoom session tonight, it'll give you a lot more context
Okay,
of what this is about.
sure.
You are absolutely, and I don't discourage this, you're absolutely welcome to go to Google Images and take a look at filet au poivre. The recipe I've given you, the dish you're making for this week. Look up Dutch's potatoes. Look up those things if you want to get an idea, but I'd like you to avoid trying to copy someone else's plate. You'll be better for it in the long run. I've got 7 o'clock. I don't want to keep you past what said we're going to stop at. And so final questions, final anything? This was our first time to do this. Next week is going to be even quicker, I think. But plan on the same kind of format. I'll shut up more if that's possible. Plan on 2 or 3 plates that you present this week will be plates that we look at, and you all get to kind of peer review each other. And remember, the review that we want is what you like, what's good about the plate, and opportunities to maybe improve or do something a little different on a plate. That's it. We'll talk about those things next week, and then you can ask any other questions. I'll hang around if you want to hang out and ask any other questions. Otherwise, y'all have a good night and take a rest.
Yay.
Get your cooking done before I think it's Thursday. Thursday, the heat index is already expected to be over 100.
Oh.
And all this humidity. I know. Look at Jacqueline's eyes. I know, right? It's not going to be comfy on Thursday, so we probably don't want to be cooking. It might have
You're
froze that way too, so I don't know.
I love it.
Y'all have a good night.
Night, chef.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
Chef, I did want to ask you about my plate if I can.
Absolutely.
Okay. So yes, I'm distracted by Chucky's. Oh, anyway, so Chef, yes, I looked at your feedback and I agree it was full. I included the little drum because I was proud. I told you last night, I've never done that before, never. And I need to do it again because I don't think I did it correctly, fully. But anyway, I was proud of how cute my little drum looked. So I did include that. But any other specific feedback?
Your photography is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You can tell you've done some of this before, putting things online and a little bit of styling
Yeah.
to set up a plate. I don't want to discourage you from that at all.
Okay. Sure.
Because I had a student in the fall, last fall, in an online class. He's exploring kind of food blogging.
Yeah.
And doing video and photography. You've done this. I would gather you've done this for a little while.
Yeah.
He wants to get into it. He spent few $1,000s to
Yeah.
equipment and stuff, just
Right.
class, using this as a catalyst to do that.
Mm.
That is going above and beyond. But if you want to do that kind of photography and use it in your blogs and whatnot, hey, not to give you any tips, you're a trained professional at blogging, but there's a lot of interest right now of culinary school and even online culinary school, and blogging what you're doing and your experiences and throwing, okay, well, this was this dish and this
Right.
that dish. The only
Yeah.
thing I would remind you is the specific recipes. They actually, what I've given you are recipes out of the textbook by 'em.
Okay.
So they're copywritten. You would just need to
Right.
find them in the book and then cite them properly if you're going to
Yes.
use the specific recipe.
Absolutely.
There's really no such thing as a copyright on a recipe. That's
Right.
held dozens of times by the United States Supreme Court, but there is internet etiquette
Right.
in
Yes.
blogosphere and whatnot.
Yes. Yes. I'm always very respectful of that, for sure.
I don't have any feedback for you to do anything different per se. When you
Okay.
if you saw the feedback I gave, and if you go back and look,
Sorry.
if you go back and look at this, so I mean the first half hour, we looked at 3 plates. Yours was not
Okay.
them, but we looked at 3 of your classmates' plates.
Okay.
I give you the opportunity. You heard what we're going to do next week.
Right.
Opportunity for some peer feedback. Because we have to start learning to do that.
Right.
I used to repossess cars in an earlier life, and I like it. I have a little confrontational streak. I don't have any problem being blunt and telling somebody, okay, no, that was crap. And sometimes I've been known to do that with blinders on, not thinking about anybody's feelings and stuff like that. It is human nature to, because we're non-confrontational, we
Right.
kind to everyone. And it's not about being kind or unkind. It is about, we all have different ideas and different visions, and we need to be able to articulate those visions. But B, hopefully when you leave this school, you will have the vocabulary to correct other people's work. I'm not approaching this as if we all have things to correct, but here's my plate. Well, what do you see different?
Right.
Did what I saw, but I'm going to take away your feedback. You are going to take away my feedback and your peers' feedback, and it's going to be real awkward next week and the next week after that. It'll take a few weeks before we get into, okay, I understand what it is we're supposed to do, and I understand what this
Sure.
is.
Sure.
I think this week the general feedback for everyone, and it especially applies to you and your plate that you did, 2 things. And it all boils down really to one: too much on the plate.
Right.
There doesn't have to be 2 pieces of chicken. I don't
Right.
remember if yours was one with 2 pieces or not.
Yeah. I have the 2. Yes.
The ratio of protein to vegetable to starch. I'm not the healthy foods and nutrition instructor. So I'm not getting my plate out, and I'm not saying you need to have 50% veg and 25% starch and 25% protein, but we've got to get away from Southern eating.
Yeah.
Which is 50% protein,
Yeah.
5% vegetable,
Right.
122% starch, and then cover the whole thing with white gravy or brown gravy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard this, when exactly you were able to log in, but I call that Denny's plating,
Yeah.
Cracker Barrel plating.
Yes.
Tonight I referred to cafeteria plating. You didn't do that, but two of the three plates that you're going to see when you see the recording are what I call cafeteria plating, and that's compartmentalized.
Yes. Yes.
Then I don't want anything to touch.
Yep.
We got to break ourselves of that, and
Right.
less is more. And artistically, we want to learn to use negative space
Mhm.
and intentionally draw our guests' eyes to what we want them to focus on the plate,
Mm.
with eyes first.
Well, and so what is that typically? Is it the protein? Is it different for every plate?
It's different for every plate. It's different for every dish, and it's different for every chef.
Okay.
And so what we're going to learn is very, I still refer to them as principles of plate presentation, but they're not standard rules.
Mm.
There's not a note card of 20 rules. And if you follow these rules or check mark this checklist, you've got the right kind of plate. It depends on the makeup of the plate.
Sure.
It depends on what you're able to do. They're little tools. I know you've done things in the pastry side where you've got to be very delicate, and you're doing little micro movements to get a certain, just doing truffles,
Yes.
if you're doing molded truffles,
Right.
to prepare those molds the right way so that you've got this little glitter and this
Right.
color. It has to be done so. We're not going to get that far into the weeds of plate presentation, because in the amount of time that we have, if we get to properly utilizing sauce, thinking of the plate as a canvas, and art means something different to different people.
Yeah.
How many people do you know that will look at a big white canvas that has been painted white and a perfect red dot on the middle of the canvas in an art gallery? And you see that red dot, and people will stand there and they stare at it, and can you feel the tension? Can you blah blah blah? I see a daggone red dot on the canvas. Some of that kind of art, it's not more than a squiggly line, when all you have is a squiggly line, but yet on a plate in the same way. Some of our plates may still end up simple, but
Mhm.
very clean, by just a little swoosh of the sauce. Sometimes it's appropriate to pool the sauce underneath whatever we're doing. Blah blah blah. The list goes on and on and on and on. I will always tell you one or two things that I see that could be different.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the plating
it
is,
off.
this is very important to me. So I want you to just be throughout the semester, just total, frank, and don't worry about hurt feelings, because this is where I want to be the best.
You watch all of it'll go maybe tonight. It might
Okay.
tonight, but watch this our discussion,
Okay.
and I think it may answer a couple more questions,
Sure.
even raise a couple more questions.
Sure.
Plate presentation is something that you will continue to develop for years, and we start covering it in food too. When you take, assuming it would still be Chef Rogers for food 3, she's going to build on what we learn in food too. And you're going to practice it. But you'll be doing a little more of exactly what chef wants done.
Yeah.
Then when you go to food 4, here's the dish for tonight. You will be the sous chef for the night. You will determine what the plate presentation will be. And each of these semesters build, it's called scaffolding in education, but it builds a skill set, it builds knowledge, and it builds understanding of being able to do plate presentation.
Sure.
Typically, you and I are two different people. I'm a right brain, hard right brain person. I don't analyze anything very well, but everything in the world to me is color and it's music. And you were a piano performance.
Yeah. Did you see my
Saw
note?
that.
Yeah.
saw that.
I laughed about that because, similar track.
So when I make music references, you're going to understand them all
Oh, yeah.
Perfectly just fine.
Oh, yeah.
My bachelor's degree is in percussion performance
Okay. That's awesome.
in music education, but changed to performance. And anyway, that's where we are. This is a good place. This is a good place for artistic people.
Right.
It really is. I think
Good.
we'll be satisfied and fulfilled with what we do, but I want you to know now up front, it's not going to answer everything.
Sure. That's fine.
What else?
Well, that's it. Thank you. I will say that recipe was so good. So good.
Well, you will, I think we'll do rice pilaf, I think is what we food 1, but you're going to do this again at the end of the semester in food 1.
Okay. That's fun.
And you may do this again. It'll be your choice, but you may do this again for your final practical exam in food 2.
Okay.
I think we're doing chicken, we're doing ribeye, we're doing salmon, and we're doing filet,
Okay.
all for the practical exam.
So will we break down a fish in this class?
We will not break down fish in this class. That'll be meat and seafood.
Okay. Got it.
We use the fish that's coming out of the freezer that
Okay.
was broken down by meat and seafood.
Sure.
Folks.
Okay.
So
Good deal.
we don't learn to break anything down except the chicken.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal.
Have a good night. Return to your
All right.
kiddos.
All right. You too. Thank you. Appreciate
later.
you.
Yep.
Bye.